Talking Paranormal with the Old Man.
Is that cool or what, guys? Like I said, I'm dangerous when I have new stuff to play with. This soundboard that I got, like I said, change my voice, do cheers, all that good stuff. So I'm experimenting at your expense. How the hell are you? This is episode 2 of my podcast, and this is what we call in the business the meat and potatoes of investigating. This episode, we're going to talk about, can spirits follow you home? We have presentations that we do, like I said, year round, but it's usually in October. And more than once, I have been asked, can they follow you home? And the answer is yeah, they can follow you home. And you don't even have to be at an investigation. You can be in an antique store. And if you buy something at an antique store that has something attached to it, guess what? You brought that bad boy home with you. If you go to a graveyard by yourself, not even doing an investigation, just visiting loved ones or visiting, friends who are there, the spirit can attach themselves to you and they come home with you. We had a friend, well, we still do have a friend. She's a medium, and she once said that the spirits can see something in your aura, and I don't know what exactly that is, but something in your aura that they know if they, I guess, want to go home with you or they want to follow you or something to that effect. I'm not for sure. So it is very possible to have spirits come home with you. And we have had some come home with us during our or after actual investigations. We've had spirits come home with us. So in this approximately half hour or so, I will talk about some of the experiences that we had where the spirits actually came home and was in our house with us for a while. The first example, I guess, is we did an investigation over in Bath. And like I said in the first podcast, is there was a school bombing back in May 18th, 1927, and a lot of people were killed. Is very tragic. In the future podcast, it's probably going to be like 2, 3, 4 parts. I'm going to talk about Bath in detail because it's not, like I said before, it's more this happened, this happened. It's a lot of details, a lot of stuff that happened that transpired before the actual school bombing itself. So our first example was we did a investigation at a house across the street from the actual park where the school once stood. And it was, a regular investigation. Our investigations run about 3 hours. So it was about a 3 hour investigation. And again, we have all this equipment stuff. So our work actually starts after the investigation because let's say, for example, it's a 3 hour investigation. We have 4 cameras that are recording. So that's 12 hours of video that we have to review, like meticulously review any movement, any kind of sound, any kind of things that we cannot explain. Then we have EVPs we have to play back. So again, 3 hour investigation, let's say 2.5 hours of tape we have to play back. And it's kind of hard because people will talk and they don't mean to talk, but they talk and you don't know if that was paranormal or one of your team members or one of the homeowners talking. So it's really hard. And then pictures, we take, depends, 50 pictures investigation, maybe 100 sometimes. You have to go through all of those bad boys and find out if there's anything paranormal in them. So, like I said, our first experience here was we had investigation over in Bath, or if you're English, it's Bath. It's not Bath, it's Bath. So we pronounce it Bath. And we did a house across the street from the park, and that house was used to bring the victims over before they were transported to the hospital. Well, my understanding is that some of them passed away while they were there. So the house is active. The person that lived in the house, she had an experience across the street. She was walking down the sidewalk and she would always see, or she said she would sometimes see, this kid who was black. And he would not go past the sidewalk to go out into the street. So he would stay on the actual sidewalk that ran in front of the school. And she didn't put two and two together until she got older, and she realized that the child was burned, and he was a spirit from the Bath school bombing, and he couldn't cross the sidewalk into the street because that was not the school property. So then she was saying that she's had experiences in her house. So we went over there, did our investigation, and that night when we came home, we had two things that happened to us. The first thing that happened was we have in our bedroom we have a light in our closet, and it's always off unless you have it on to pick out clothes to put on, whatever. Well, during the night, Brenda said that she woke up a couple of times and the light was on in the closet. So she got up, walked across the bedroom, flipped the switch, turned off the light, and went back to her bed. And then she said she got up one other time, about an hour or two later, and again, the light was turned on. And that was kind of like, okay, what's going on here? And we don't scare easy. Okay, let's just make this out here. I'm not like some, oh, I'm really big dude. I don't get scared. Honestly, I don't. We've been doing this for a long time. And it's all based on perspective. I mean, we have been in houses where we did one house where they said that they came down the stairs and there was a spirit sitting on the couch. And I go, oh, that's so damn cool. And the homeowner goes, no, it's not. So it's based on perspective. We like it. This is what we do. Not as a hobby. We take it seriously, so it's not like a hobby. But we have regular jobs, unfortunately, because we don't take any fees for this. All of our investigations are free of charge. All of our services are free of charge. We help with fundraisers, all free of charge. So we don't get anything. So it's all based on perspective. So anyways, when I guess I came home from that investigation, we had that problem with our closet light. And then Brenda said that one time during the night too, she also heard we have wooden floors, and she heard heavy footsteps coming down the hallway towards our bedroom. It would stop by our door and then go back towards the other side of the house, and then back towards our bedroom. And it was a heavy footsteps, ka-thump, ka-thump, ka-thump. Not something that our kids, could have made. It was somebody wearing boots. So that's one example of bringing something home with us. And one other example is we had a kitty cat, and we had her for a long time. Her name was Motley. She passed away. Anyways, we had her, and Brenda, and actually I think Jessie, our daughter, I think she actually seen it too. It was a cat, a gray cat, and I want to say it had, like, I want to say orange eyes. It's been so long ago that I'm not really sure for sure, but I think it had orange eyes, and there's a gray cat, I think, with orange eyes. And Brenda would wake up, and it would be like sitting on her chest looking at her. Not Motley, our real cat, but this spirit cat. And that cat was around the house for a couple weeks. Like I said, I think Jessie saw it in her room. I personally did not see it. I don't know why. I would have loved to have seen a spirit of a cat, but I don't know why I couldn't see it. But anyways, I did not. And the other thing that we had happen here was we had, well, we most of our experiences are here. Well, one of the other examples was again, I talked about in the first episode, I talked about if you are first starting out and you have not done houses before, it's really hard to get a house because people want experience. So it's really hard so when we first started out, all we did was graveyards, which, like I said, I will repeat myself from the first one. I love a graveyard, dude. I love it's quiet, serene. It's kind of spooky, especially if there's a fog rolling in or it's storming or something. It's a cool place to be. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I like it. So whatever, to each their own. Well, we have been to numerous graveyards, doing investigations, and our friend came over, and we have a ranch house. If you're unfamiliar with our house, it's a ranch house, so it's long, widthwise. Well, our friend came over, and when you come up our driveway, you can see, if you're coming up the driveway, look to our right is our living room. We have a big window in our living room. And he came up to our house and he goes, "Who's that boy?" And we're like, "Well, it's Sam's our son, Sam. He's in his room. He's doing homework or probably playing Xbox or something like that." And our daughter is in her room. He goes, "No," he goes, it wasn't Sam. He goes, I've seen Sam before. He goes, "It wasn't Sam." He goes, "There was a boy standing in your living room window looking out." And our friend said that he was dressed in like old-fashioned clothes. He had like on, uh, I think it was like brown pants with like black boots, white socks, suspenders, and a white button-up shirt without a tie. And he was just staring out our window, looking out. And our friend, he goes, "Yeah, I saw him. He looked directly at me, and I thought it was your son." And he's like, "That's kind of odd." So we don't know where we brought him home from. Who knows? I mean, like I said, we went to many graveyards before this happened, so not for sure where he came from, but he came home with us. So, and he was here for like I don't know, a couple of weeks too, I think. And I think what it is I think that they come home with us. They like our aura, or if the kids are with us, they know we have kids. They playmate whatever. But it's almost like when they get here, it's like, shit, these guys are boring. I'm getting the hell out of here. It's more interesting where I came from. So I'm not saying that that is exactly what happened, but that's what it sounds like to me. Is that that's what happens? Is they come here, we live kind of a boring life other than our paranormal experiences and stuff, and they leave. So that happens. Well, one other example that we had that I have for you guys is my in-laws live kitty corner from us. Now, if you're from Iowa, it's catty corner. And I know what the hell you're saying. What the shit is catty corner? I'll tell you. We went to Iowa. Oh God, pre-COVID. I'm really bad with time. Time goes by, and I don't think it's gone by that fast. So it was pre-COVID. So probably 2017, 2018-ish, maybe earlier. Me and Brenda went to Winterset, Iowa. Clint Eastwood had, and I'm getting off track here, paranormal, but Clint Eastwood movie, Bridges of Madison County, is where him and that's Meryl Streep. That's who I was trying to think of. They had like a relationship there and everything. Well, they actually have the covered bridges there. So we went out there to see the covered bridges. Well, we were in the town square, and I was talking to a shop owner, and I'm like, okay, I know there's like a restaurant here that was in part of the movie, and she goes, "Oh yeah, it's Caddy Corner," and I'm like, "Caddy Corner?" She goes, "Yeah, just over there," and I'm like, "Oh," I go, "In Michigan, and when I grew up, it was called Kitty Corner, not Caddy Corner." So, anyways, Kitty Corner or Caddy Corner from our house going to the southeast is my in-laws' house. Well, I want to say it was like a Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and Brenda was putting the kids in the car to take them over there. And I stayed home. I was busy doing something or something. I'm not sure now. So I'm opening our front door, and Brenda has the car parked there. Jesse got in, Sammy got in, Brenda got in, and they drove off. And I came back in the house, closed the front door, came in the house. And when she got back from her mom's house, she's like, "Yeah, mom had a really interesting, question." She goes, "When I went over there," she goes, "Oh," this is her mom, speaking. She goes, her mom goes, "Oh, I thought one of the kids stayed back home with Brad." And Brenda's like, "What do you mean that they stayed home with me?" And she goes, "Well, I was looking out the window of my house because I was expecting you guys to come home, or I'm sorry, to come over to my house. So I'm watching for you guys to come so I can open up the front door for you guys. And I saw, you come out, and I saw Brad holding the front door open. And she says, I saw Jesse come out, and I saw Sammy come out. But then she goes, I saw some other kid go back underneath Brad's arm and go back in the house. And that's like, well, that's kind of odd because, Brenda goes, they're both here, Mom. So she goes, I don't know who, and we only have two kids. So she goes, I don't know who that could have been. So I'm wondering if it was the ghost child that our friend saw when he was over here, that the friend or that person that my friend saw, that's the child that came back in the house. I'm not sure. It's like it's one of those things, and I did not see that child come back underneath my arm. I mean, I would have seen it, and I didn't. But here's the odd thing though, is I am, believe it if you're not, I am a medium. Brenda is also, and didn't always have the ability to communicate with spirits. And I always had a joke back in the day when we first started that a spirit could be hitting me in the back of the head with a baseball bat, and I would not know that I guess got hit in the back of the head with a baseball bat from a spirit. And that all changed. I mean, I grew up in a haunted house. I don't know if that has if that has something to do with it. I'm not entirely for sure, but it did. I didn't have always have that ability until we did an investigation, and that would be a future topic. We did an investigation at the Felt Mansion, and we were upstairs walking around, and I felt like cobwebs. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of kind of weird feeling. And our friend who was there, she's a medium also, and she's like, oh, that's the spirits. They're actually touching you. And I'm like, well, that's damn cool. I can more power to them. Touch me all they want. And ever since that investigation, that was years and years and years ago, I can now sense spirits, and I can talk to them, I can see them, I can have full-blown conversations. If they're willing, it has to be a two-way street, and I can, actually communicate with them. But back then when we first started out, I couldn't. So I did not see this kid come back under my arm. So mystery, we don't know who it is or was. And one other example that we had is our daughter Jessie. Her room is at the end of the hallway across from our room. And she's both the kids are older. They both moved out. They have their own places now. But when our kids were still at home, our daughter would say that she would be in her room, and she felt like she was constantly being watched. And she said that one time she was doing her homework, and her back faced her door to go out into the hallway. And I guess she said that she like slowly like looked over her back of her shoulder, and she's seen a spirit of a man. Actually, I think she said it's more of like maybe a late teen, early 20s person, and they were just watching her do her homework. And she said it kind of freaked her out a little bit. And our son is his room is off our kitchen, and he would always say that he heard voices at night when he was trying to go to sleep for school. He would hear voices at night, and we always put it off as, oh, it's the TV, because our living room is, I'm looking at his wall now because I basically taken over his room as my office, I guess. Well, if on the other side of this wall is our living room, with the TV and stuff. So we just put it off as the TV's too loud. That's what he's hearing. But he would always say that when he went to bed, he'd always hear voices talking. So either way. So I guess all of us have had experiences in our house. And Jesse said that one time I was at work. Yeah, I was at work, and she said she called me and said she heard breaking glass. She's in her room doing homework, watching TV or something, and she heard breaking glass coming from our living room area. And then she heard the heavy footsteps going towards her room. Well, she said that the footsteps only went to her door, but she said for the first, but she said 2 or 3 minutes after she heard that breaking glass, she heard the footsteps, the heavy footsteps coming down our wooden hall, wooden floor hallway to her room, come back towards the kitchen, the opposite direction, back towards her bedroom. And this happened for a minute or two, she said. And the spirit did not ever try to get into her room. Now, was it the same person that we brought back from our investigation in Bath at that house? Because Brenda also reported the heavy footsteps. So it's very possible that that was the same spirit. And to touch on something here too is Jesse heard the breaking glass. Now, when she came out here to look before she started hearing the footsteps, there wasn't anything broken. And that seems to be a reoccurring occasion for us is when we do investigations, people will email us, and they'll say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And when we contact them, a lot of the first things that they will say is, you're going to think I'm crazy, but, okay, well, we don't think you're crazy because you lived in your house. We do not. We are visitors for 3 hours. If we don't experience anything in those 3 hours, it doesn't mean your place isn't haunted. It just means that the spirits were not active. And I'm going to touch on that in probably the next couple of podcasts about TV shows and the evidence that they gather. Okay, that's going to be future, probably 2 or 3 podcasts in advance. I do have, I guess from reading my podcast here is I do have opportunities to go live where I can interact with you guys, like you guys can ask questions and stuff. So I'm thinking about doing that too. I will announce that in future podcasts when I'm going to try that. Because I think it'd be kind of cool to have questions instead of me talking off the cuff all for for half an hour, to have someone ask questions that I can hopefully answer. I want to get Brenda on here too, a couple of podcasts to talk about some of our favorite investigations and stuff to get a more personal, again, me just not me talking the whole time, which I can do, don't get me wrong. We had a investigation one time in Heartland Township. We had 3 places that we investigated. It was the township hall, the cemetery, and a museum. And then we came back. So one night we had an investigation in 3 places. Our team did 3 investigations in one night. We came back, I think a month or 2 later, to do a presentation. Well, we were going to do the presentation in the library, I believe it was. Yeah, it was. And then I get a call saying that there's like over 300 people. Can we move it to the school auditorium? I'm like, yeah, no problem, dudes. I can talk. I talked, this is my personal best, 3 hours, and they had to turn off the microphone, or I might still be there talking. So I don't have a problem talking. I know you guys don't want to hear my voice all the freaking time, but that's fine. Anyways, and also if you, I think you can subscribe to this. I think I'm not, like I said, podcasts are new to me. I know on our YouTube channel you can subscribe. Anytime I upload new videos, you have them there. I'm aware of that, but I'm not for sure about podcasts. So if you're feeling kind of like what the hell, see if you can subscribe to this podcast, and that way any updates or any time that I update new podcast or upload new podcast, you'll get a alert saying, "Hey, this asshole has a new podcast," and then you come right over here and listen to it. Right? Right. Okay. So as I was saying about the crashes in our house, the spook house, that was the house that we grew up in, and we called it. Our family calls it the spook house. That's how everything started in that house. Was Mom was in the living room. Oh no, I'm sorry. She was in the kitchen, and our living room where our house was at a T intersection, and Mom says she was in the kitchen folding laundry or something like that. I'm not sure. That was like so long ago, dudes. And she heard a loud crash in our house, in our living room. And Mom goes, she told me, years on. She goes, I thought like a truck. I was going to turn the corner into the living room, and there's going to be a truck in our living room. And she goes, I walked in the living room, and there wasn't anything there. There wasn't anything out of place. There was definitely not a truck parked in our living room. So that seems to be like a reoccurring theme of hauntings is people here, and we have had 4 or 5 of our investigations that we did in people's houses that started out that way, where they hear like a loud bang, thinking that something broke, crashed, fell down, collapsed, but there isn't anything out of place. So that seemed to be a reoccurring thing, and that happened here. Jessie said that she heard a loud like glass breaking. She came out here, there wasn't anything broke. So that itself is odd by itself. And I know if I was hearing this podcast and someone was talking, I would be like, okay, don't you use some kind of like prayer or protection or something like that? We do when we remember to do it. it's like it's like we have protection in place, and we don't always use it. We're so when we get on site, we have to we get on site to a person's home. We have other things to talk or to think about than to say our prayers, if you want to call them that. And so a lot of times we don't. And Kawinky Dinky, after the one in Bath, after our first 2 or 3 graveyards that we did investigations, we didn't say a prayer or nothing. So that's probably why something came home with us. Now, I have a clipboard, and it's going to make a noise here, I think, but maybe not. Okay, I have a clipboard, and this is the opening prayer that we say when we remember, because that's the thing. If you don't say it, it don't do shit. So you have to remember to say it. And depending on what religion you are, whatever that whatever you feel comfortable saying, I guess. So here it is. It's Saint Michael the Archangel. Oh, I slaughtered that, didn't I? Excuse me. Saint Michael the Archangel. I'm gonna burn for that. Defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who wander through the world for the ruins of souls. Amen. Now that is our if we remember again, that is our opening prayer that we usually say during our investigation. And I learned from the first investigation or the first podcast, I have some pop here. So hold on, my throat's getting a little sore. Mucho better. Okay. And then we do have a closing prayer. And the closing prayer, I will say the prayer and then I'll talk a little bit about it. So, in the name of Jesus Christ, I command all human spirits to be bound to the confines of this cemetery or graveyard. I command all inhuman spirits to go where Jesus Christ tells you to go, for it is He who commands you. Amen. Now, I know a lot of people might be saying, oh, dude, those are just words. Okay, well, I do have an experience that happened after we did our closing prayer. We were doing the hotel over in the great city of London, and it's not really a hotel no more. It's more of a sports bar upstairs and a family dining room on the first floor. And we had done an investigation. We had been over there many times over the years doing investigations. The owner, Jack, was gracious enough to have us over. So we had done our investigation, and, excuse me, and we are getting ready to leave. And we had said our before we walked out the front door of the hotel, we said our closing prayer. And our friend, who is a medium, she was there with us. And as I was saying the prayer, she goes, "Oh," she goes, "I just felt something release from me, like a spirit had attached themselves to her." And when we said the closing prayer, that has to be, has to be confined to this building, and it doesn't have to be building. It could be building, a cemetery, graveyard, wherever you're at. You fill in the blank to be bound to the confines of this blank. Doesn't have to be building. It can be a house. So, this park, it could be anything. So it doesn't have. So basically, use that to suit your needs of where you're currently at right now. And she said that she felt something come off of her, like become unattached to her, and it stayed in the hotel. So it does work, but you have to use it to make it work. So if you don't use it, it's not going to work. And one other example that I have too is one of the spirits that supposedly haunted the hotel there in Linden was the spirit of a child. It was a small girl who had passed away when the upstairs was a hotel. Well, back then they used wood burning stoves as heat. Well, there was a fire in one or two of the rooms, and unfortunately, a small girl passed away. So there has been sightings of this small girl in the hotel. Well, Jack had told us a story that he had a family, a mom, a dad, and their daughter were eating in the hotel, and they left, and the mom called Jack like 2 or 3 days later and said, "You're not going to believe what happened." She goes, "We left the hotel, and our daughter, who was in the back seat, she was chatting the whole time. Like she's talking, she's having a conversation with some other person that we could not see." And we're like, "Honey, who are you talking to?" And she says, "Oh, Mom, it's the girl from the hotel." Now, if that ain't freaky shit, I don't know what is. Myself, I would have rambled it, but you know what? That's just me. So again, you can bring spirits home from you from wherever. And the mom said that her daughter talked to her all the way home, the spirit all the way home. But then when they got to their house, the daughter said that the spirit left, that she left. So I'm assuming she went back to the hotel. So again, that's a good example that it doesn't have to be an investigation. It doesn't have to be you're doing a paranormal event or anything. They just went out to eat at this hotel and brought the spirit of the girl that was in the hotel back with them for a short time. So it does happen. So let me just touch for a second on that thing about the closing prayer of the inhuman and human spirits, because some people might not know what that is or what is inhuman, what's human. If you do know, bear with me. So these people that do not know, I can help them a little bit here. So a human spirit is someone who has walked the earth at one time. And that would be anybody's relatives that have passed. It could be your mom, your dad, your grandma, your aunts, anyone that was alive on earth at one time and has passed, they are considered human spirits. Inhuman spirits are just that. They're inhuman. They were never alive at one time on earth. Unfortunately, that usually means demon, the devil, demonic, whatever the case might be. But that's usually what a inhuman spirit is. And an inhuman spirit generally is conjured up by witchcraft, black magic, or yes, the Ouija board. For all ages, 8 and above, let's communicate with the dead. So that's usually what inhuman spirits are conjured up with. And we've had experiences with inhuman spirits. I will talk about those in future podcasts because it is really interesting. But I will close this out, and I know what people are saying. God damn, he's done talking. I know. But anyways, so I you know what? I lost track of what I was saying. Oh yeah. Okay. See, I'm like Dora from Finding Nemo. I get sidetracked very easy. Then I'm like, what the hell was I talking about? Sometimes I'll get up to go someplace in the house, and I forget what I got up for. So yeah, it is what it is. Old age, old man here. What I dislike the term demon, evil entity, demonic presence because they're usually not. Usually not. In all of our investigations, we have never encountered a demonic presence. We have encountered possibly inhuman, but not demonic, the devil, a dark evil spirit. That's Hollywood. That's how they sell things. Okay, Hollywood is to make movies, and again, I'm going to touch on that in future podcasts about TV shows. We were on one, so we kind of know the ins and the outs and kind of thing. Is I mean, do demons exist? 100% yes. Have we encountered a demon or demonic, evil entity? Not firsthand, but we do know of them, kind of thing. And again, I will elaborate in future podcasts. So yes, I deeply, deeply, deeply hate that term because it's to sell things, period. And one thing here before I close is, and our people in our group are aware of this, I do not like bats. And I know that's off topic, kind of, but I do not like bats. We have done investigations where there was bats. I do not like bats. If you were to see pictures of our early investigations and there was flying rats or bats, whatever, in the room with me, I'm behind the team member. I'm behind someone, and it's like everyone knows I dislike bats. Again, in future podcasts, see, I'm leading into future podcasts, so you'll stay interested. See, that's the way it is. I drag a carrot, say, oh, in future podcasts, I'm going to talk about this. See, I'm learning this entertainment crap here, so it is what it is. So, anyways, thank you all for listening. Enjoy your day. It seems like the cold weather has passed us here for a while. So enjoy your day, and as always, stay away from the light. Until the other podcast, bye bye.